Summer is officially here, and you know what that means. It's holiday season. You're jetting off all around Europe, all around the world to your favorite holiday destinations. And one of the most frequently asked questions I've had over recent weeks is, what do I do when I go on holiday? How do I manage my habits? How do I stay on top of things whilst I'm away? Today, I'm going to reveal all and tell you exactly why you do not have to sacrifice your health and fitness goals for a trip to the Med or to the Caribbean. My name is Sam Gerlin. I'm the founder of Gerlin Nutrition. I'm a fully qualified nutritionist and I'm a health and fitness coach. And today, as I say, I'm going to be telling you exactly how you can manage your nutrition and your health habits whilst away on holiday. We were able to do this very recently with a client of mine, Will, who had a 2-week break on the Greek islands. I believe it was the Greek islands. Forgive me if you're watching this and I'm wrong here, Will. But he was able to manage, his health and fitness goals and maintain all the progress that he'd made in the previous weeks whilst enjoying his holiday, whilst enjoying all the foods that he wanted to eat. And today we're going to be diving in and explaining exactly how he was able to do that from the very start of his holiday all the way through to the end. But with that said, let's dive straight into this. If you see me looking down here, it's because, as always, I've got my laptop to make sure I'm covering all the points I wanted to. But we're going to start with a mindful start, okay? So it is so easy. I know exactly how it is. As soon as the day rolls around where you're going away, you lose all touch with reality. You lose your sense of direction. You don't know where you are. You get into the duty-free lounge. You're picking up the bottles of Bombay Sapphire, you're dipping in for the Jack Daniels to take with you, you're going straight into the McDonald's Brecco, or you're going into the Weatherspoons, you're smashing your pints and your big Breccos. I know exactly how it is, I've been there before. But starting things on the right foot is so important. You set a precedence for the rest of the holiday if you have a mindful start, and just, be a bit more realistic with things, okay? You wouldn't normally, okay? I totally appreciate that a holiday is a time to celebrate, it is a time to enjoy, but I know for a fact, I've been there personally, I've seen it with other people. As soon as you start the holiday in this way, you're setting yourself up for a difficult time to come. Okay, so having a mindful start and just being conscious and aware, and as I say, the key word here really is being mindful, that in those first few hours, you have more control over, anything that you will do for the rest of the trip. Okay, you know exactly what you can eat. You know that you've got control over most things. Some things to consider. Okay, I know that a lot of us probably fly nice and early in the morning, but eating before you leave. Okay, so if you've got an afternoon flight, make sure that you eat a nice, satisfying, it might be a slightly larger portion than normal, but a satiating breakfast or lunch before you leave for your flight. And if you are flying nice and early in the morning, make sure you eat a nice and satisfying meal the night before, okay? Because that gives you the best possible opportunity to satiate yourself and make sure that you're not going into that airport feeling absolutely starving hungry. Because I often find the case with airports, excuse me, is it's association, it's habitual. We get into the airport and we get excited, okay? It's a natural feeling to have. And that's where we find ourselves, going into these fast food outlets and, we're in WH Smith's smashing meal deals. I know exactly how it is. But if we can sort of harness this sort of knowledge that it is indeed association and it is indeed habitual to be doing these kinds of things, then we give ourselves the power to make more informed choices. Another option that you can do is, of course, the first one being eating before you leave, but packing nutrient-dense snacks to take with you. Okay, so that might be just, a small handful of mixed nuts with some fruit. Before I've even prepared, full-blown meals sometimes to take with me, just to give myself the best possible chance to start things on the right foot. Another big one is making sure that you're properly hydrated. Of course, you can't take water or liquids through security, but making sure you're drinking up to the point you get to security. And then when you get through, your first stop in the airport should be to get yourself a nice big bottle of water. Okay, it's an absolute rip-off, I know, but believe me, it's worth it. When you're paying £4 for a bottle of water, it can be hard to justify, and it makes you want to drink that 1 litre bottle of Smirnoff. But look, it's worth it. Make sure that you're properly hydrated, because often we mistake our hunger for thirst. It's a lack of hydration as opposed to a genuine feeling of hunger. Okay. And another one is just to, put some space between your actions or your thoughts and your actions. Again, this all comes down to being mindful and just having the awareness. But before you go into Weatherspoons or wherever it may be, just ask yourself, am I genuinely hungry? Do I actually need this? Would I normally be eating at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning? The answer 9 times out of 10 is going to be no. And just to tie those last 2 points there together, I think what's important to think of with the hydration point and the point about eating at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning is that we are at our most dehydrated in the morning. Okay, when we first wake up, has been the longest period of time, or at least it should be, that we've gone without drinking rather. So at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you probably are just thirsty. You don't need the food. You wouldn't normally be eating at that time. So that, again, that's something else to consider. But that's me covering all bases there for having a mindful start. That's before you even get on the holiday. It's about setting yourself up for success and starting things on the right foot. Then, once you're out there, the sun hits your face, you get that other wave, you get another wave of excitement. You're thinking, oh, I'm here, made it, right. Let's go to the first, bar. Let's, go and smash the all-inclusive drinks or whatever it may be. But here it's about controlling what you can control. You're entitled to that first pina colada on the beach, whatever it may be. But it's about establishing that mindful balance. This is what this whole topic really boils down to. It's just awareness and mindfulness and just making conscious decisions rather than just allowing it to sort of be relegated to your subconscious where, you're not really thinking about the decisions that you're making because it's so easy to do so. But as I say, controlling the controllables, doing a little bit of research before you go, okay? Scoping out local restaurants, scoping out the local area to see, what you can sort of get your hands on. Are you at an all-inclusive? What do they typically have for breakfast? These are questions that you can ask if you want to. It's worth doing, in my opinion, if you really do want to maintain the progress that you've made with your health and fitness goals previously. If you're staying in an Airbnb, perhaps in an apartment, make that first shopping trip count. Okay, this is very similar to the point I was making about the decisions you make in the airport. If you're going to the supermarket, picking up your food for the holiday and all you're throwing in the bag or in the basket or in the trolley is Lay's and Milka and what else is there? Fanta Lemon, I know the crack, I know how it is. And Mahu or whatever it is, the lagers out in Spain or wherever you are. Again, it's going to be very difficult to make those mindful, health-conscious choices if that's what you're doing on your first shopping trip. So that's something else to bear in mind. Another one is if you are traveling slightly longer haul, obviously you're going to be landing with a little bit of jet lag, and just having an awareness of how that can impact our hunger. It can throw off our hormones, so our ghrelin and our leptin, which are our hunger and satiety cues. It can also increase cortisol levels, which is our stress hormone. One of my previous videos, so go and check that out in the description down below, discusses how stress can impact these things. So that's worth a watch if you've not watched that one already. But yeah, just be mindful of how jet lag can affect our hunger as well. If you feel hungry for no reason, that might be the reason why. But it's just, not relying on willpower to make these decisions. It's having somewhat of a strategy. That's what it boils down to. Again, mindfulness. Strategize, have a system in place to set yourself up for the most successful outcomes if that's what you want. Because at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. You've got to want that yourself. If you are going away and you want to make the most of it while still being health conscious, this is what you've got to do. It's that simple. Obviously, whilst you're away, you're probably going to be eating out a lot as well. That goes without saying. You're entitled to meals out, of course. But it's eating out with intention. Once more, not going out without a plan. So it's important for me. I love enjoying local cuisine, trying local restaurants. It's part of the travel experience for me. But again, what you can do is a bit of research in advance. So checking the menu of the restaurant that you're going to. Often the case is that, you're going to be, if you're coastal, there's going to be plenty of healthy fish options, but what I always say when eating out is to follow the sustainable plate model. This is something that I might have touched on in previous videos, but I'm actually going to be doing a dedicated video on this topic specifically. This is something that I bang on to all of my clients about, the sustainable plate. If you're struggling to find a recipe, or you're eating out at a restaurant and you're thinking about what to order for the most benefit, is structuring your plate with half a plate of vegetables, a quarter plate of protein, so half a plate of veggies, a quarter plate of lean protein, a quarter plate of complex carbohydrates, and then if you can get a serving of healthy fats in there, be it an avocado, be it some olive oil, then happy days. But that is the structure that you want to follow. You can of course ask the waiter or the waitress that in the restaurant. There's no reason that you can't do that. It's just about having the confidence and the bravery and the presence of mind to ask those sorts of questions whilst you're out. Alongside that, a big part of that sustainable balanced plate model is prioritizing protein and fiber, because they are two very satiating macronutrients that are going to make sure that you're getting plenty of volume for a moderate amount of calories effectively. So prioritize your protein, follow the sustainable plate model, prioritize your fiber as well. And another one that always catches people out, especially whilst we're away, is the bread basket. I get it, the bread comes out, there's some melted butter on the side. You can't wait to lather that butter all over your bread and smash it with your pint of lager. But it's easy to get carried away with this. Enjoy one slice of bread, but try not to get too caught up in it. There's a reason that these restaurants bring out bread first, is because you'll have that sort of spike in blood glucose, then the crash, and it makes you even more hungry. You're more likely to order dessert. So there is a method to their madness with that. Just be careful. Again, don't be afraid to ask for personalization and customization on these sorts of recipes as well. If you notice something is, I don't know, deep fried, for example, you might ask for it grilled. You're allowed to ask these things, and most restaurants are more than happy to help and be accommodating. And the final point on eating out is just to slow down a little bit. Okay, you're there to enjoy it. You're probably there with family and friends, so sit down, enjoy the meal. A good sort of strategy that you can use is putting your knife and fork down after every mouthful, chewing 20 times if you can, allowing 20 seconds between each bite. It really does help you, get in touch with your hunger and satiety cues, and just make sure that you're not, gobbling it all down and, overeating effectively. And the final point that I want to mention, really, is just enjoying things without guilt as well. Because I think a big problem with this is the all or nothing mindset that comes alongside it often. That's why, again, it's so important to start things on the right foot, because if things start to go off track, it's easy to, go off the bandwagon and just say, oh, look, I won't bother now. I'll pick things up when I get back. But that's probably the worst thing you can do. If you do have a particularly indulgent meal or a particularly indulgent day, that doesn't, mean that it's all over and you can't sort of, continue with the habits that you started with, or indeed the habits and routines that you have at home. It doesn't have to be like that. So, enjoying things without guilt, choosing your indulgences mindfully, savouring every bite if you do have your ice cream or whatever it may be, and just, choosing to enjoy the experience. Don't do it with guilt. Don't do it with guilt. That's my biggest piece of advice. Some final little travel tips that are not necessarily nutrition related. It can help to get in plenty of steps. Of course, you're there to relax. You're there to lay on the sunbed and top up your tan. But if you can get out and just go for nice long walks, it doesn't even have to be long, 15 to 20 minutes, especially after you've eaten, to promote digestion, and just making sure that you're using the food that you've taken on can be really, really helpful. Again, staying hydrated is super, super helpful. And another thing I say is you don't necessarily want to be skipping meals to save calories. That's a piece of advice that I see a lot of coaches give, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. You want to keep your metabolism ticking, because what you end up doing is, if you are doing that, you're, impacting your metabolism in ways that might cause more fat storage from the larger meals that you do have. So I'd, sort of encourage you to manage portion sizes, but still aim for those 3 balanced meals per day. So you might just eat a little bit less rather than, skipping meals altogether. That would be my advice there. You can look at reducing your eating window overall. So you might try to do some sort of intermittent fasting. So you don't eat until, I don't know, 10 o'clock as opposed to 8 o'clock. But I'd still be, you know, aiming to eat your 3 balanced meals per day rather than skipping whole meals and having extended periods of time without eating. That would be my advice there, especially if you're drinking, you know, booze. Probably not advisable, especially in the sun as well. Yeah, I've mentioned stay hydrated, keep moving. Obviously I mentioned walking there, but you might utilize a hotel gym. Again, it's not a necessity, or you might just get in the pool and have a little swim. But that is pretty much all I wanted to cover on. I think I've touched all bases there with, you know, how to stay on top of your health and fitness goals whilst on holiday, how to stay on top of your nutrition. If there's anything that's piqued your interest that I've discussed here today, that you want to ask some more questions about, be sure to drop it in the comment section below, or drop me a DM over on Instagram. I'll leave a link to my Instagram in the description below, so you can go and check that out there as well. I should also, hang on, what's going on here? Can't talk. I should also mention that there is a link in the description that will take you to my funnel as well, for full transparency. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how you can utilize these sorts of techniques, and you just want to learn a little bit more about what I offer as a coach, you know, what my services entail, you can go and check that link out. It will tell you exactly what you want to know. You can book in a call so that we can have a casual little chat if you've got any further questions there as well. And there's no pressure to do so. I'm just letting you know, of course. But yeah, that is pretty much all I wanted to cover today. If you've made it to this point in the video, you're an absolute legend. I really, really do appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it if you could like, comment, and subscribe. It really, really does help me out. You know, I'm coming with 2 to 3 YouTube videos per week, answering all your questions. I'm happy to, you know, make videos and provide some value on anything that you want to see. So again, leave your feedback, leave your suggestions in the comment section below, and I'll be bringing them in future videos. But other than that, stay tuned for more content coming real soon, and I'll see you all in the next one in a bit.